Welcome back to this episode of the 2-3 Zone podcast. I am your co-host Josh, and with me as always is my pal Cameron.
What's going on?
And for this episode, we have a very special guest, the starting point guard for the Great Hearts Monte Lions, Jon Ferrer. Say hello, John.
What's up, man?
So, one of the things that's really been going on in basketball recently, while not NBA, has been the March Madness that's really taken over the country. We've seen so many Cinderella teams and upsets that it's really hard to keep track of it.
UMSC?
Yeah, UMSC, Loyola.
Bracket buster?
One of the teams that has been upset is Oklahoma, with their star point guard, Trey Young, being eliminated, I think, in the first or second round.
Yeah, pretty early on.
Yeah, but that being said, he immediately declared for the draft. Do you think this is a good move for Trey Young, John, that, he should declare for the draft right after his first season with Oklahoma?
Me personally, I say no. I mean, beginning of the season, we saw he had, he was a great player. You could see he was passing the ball, he was shooting the ball, he was doing everything a point guard should be doing. But, he hit this. Once they started playing good teams, I think, what were they ranked like? I think their best ranking was like 7th in the nation or something like that. Yeah. And right as they hit that, Trey Young just fell off. They fell off. They lost the ranking. It dropped to like 24th, and they lost again, and they were done out of the rankings. And me personally, I do not think Trey Young should have declared for the draft. He didn't have a good Oklahoma team. Mm-hmm. I'll give him that. He was the face of Oklahoma. After him, there was really nobody else. But I think because of how inconsistent he was, and once he hit a slump, it was so hard for him to get out of it that I just don't think that he's ready to be able to go up and play against these bigger defenders and better defenders and a lot better players than him.
Yeah. Cameron, what are your thoughts?
Trey Young, when we first saw him step into the NCAA, he was a shooting sensation, pulling up from deep, looking like, Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's what most of his comparisons were, mainly because of his deep range. I agree with John that he shouldn't have declared for the NBA draft. You see players like Kyle Kuzma, who stayed all 4 years of college. I think Draymond Green stayed for a couple of years before being drafted. And I think that even though Trey Young, we see him he's talented. He's a playmaker. Didn't he average the most assists in the NCAA?
Yeah, with 9 or 10.
8.7.
Yeah, crazy.
Around 9 assists, and I don't know how many points he was dropping per night, but I bet it's somewhere in the 20s.
27.
He was leading them.
Yeah. He led the NCAA in points and assists. But I think John is right. NBA is way different from college. You're playing against grown men as a teenager. So I think that if he stayed, maybe a year, maybe 2. He would develop into a better player, a better playmaker than he already is, because it's tough being in the NBA with all these, like I said before, these grown men coming at you, and then you have great defenders like, Patrick Beverley and Tony Allen locking you up, like we saw with Lonzo Ball. He got, devastated by Patrick Beverley in the season opener. So I think that if he were to stay in college, he would be a much better player, and then he should declare for the draft. What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
Well, just because he's not ready for the NBA, I don't think that means that he should not have declared for the draft. And the reason I say that is because I usually don't agree with what Stephen A. Smith has to say. A lot of it's more for shock value.
Yeah.
But I very much agreed with his take on what Trey Young should do, because they had him going as a lottery pick. New York is supposed to get around the 9th or 8th or 10th pick. And what Stephen A. said was that at the end of the year, they should fire Jeff Hornacek as their coach, because I think his contract is up or whatever. Or maybe they'll buy him out. Mm-hmm. And what they should do is they should hire Mark Jackson, the guy that drafted and put together the team of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. And now with Mark Jackson as your coach, you should draft the guy that's being compared to Steph Curry, develop him in the G League for maybe half a season or a full season, and then bring him out and have this newer, younger Steph Curry. I don't think he'll be as good as Steph Curry, because you're going to get a very young version of him. But I think that that's a great start for New York. But if you do get him, then you have a problem with 3 different point guards. You got Moutier, Ntilikina, and now Trey Young. So one of them might have to get traded, which could be a good thing, because you could get some good assets or role players. But personally, that's my thoughts on Stephen A's take, I very much agree that they should draft Trey Young with the 8th or ninth pick in the draft, but they should develop him first. Do you agree, or?
I'm going to let John take this one. Do you agree with what Josh said, his take on, develop him before playing him in the NBA? Or do you think that he should still, stay another year in college?
It's I can see his point. If he does do that and they do want to develop him, he is going to be getting paid as an athlete, unlike he is in college.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not like it's kind of the same thing it's those guys that aren't as good as the college ones or aren't as good as the real NBA players. It's kind of just like college, the younger guys who are still trying to develop, trying to make it to the NBA.
Yeah.
But I feel like if he was to stay in Oklahoma, I mean, he could have a chance at the championship if he wanted. But I mean, the only benefit from going to the G League would just be getting paid. But he already has a full scholarship to Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So It's not like he really would be losing money or anything.
But if he stayed with Oklahoma, as of right now, his draft stock hasn't been higher. Do you think that if he stays with Oklahoma, his draft is only going to get worse from here? He's only going to drop to 13th, 14th, 15th, or 16th? If he continues to keep playing with Oklahoma?
In the 2019 draft, do you think he'll drop? If you were to stay another year?
There is no better time to draft Trey Young than right now. And so I think he was aware of that. And again, while he's not ready, this is the best time to declare for the draft. What are your thoughts, John?
I think... No, it wouldn't harm him because they would, if he was to stay another year, they would have seen that they would have needed a better team. That they would have needed a better team. They would have gone out and recruited a lot harder and a lot better players. And if they would have done that and would have gotten the better players, and they would have seen that now Trey Young is able to do a lot more with a lot of these other good guys, then I think he would still be a top pick in the 2019 draft if he would have stayed another year.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with John. You see, again, averaging NCAA high assists at around 9. You surround him with more talent, then he's able to showcase what he can do when there's better talent around him. If this is a guy that you want to build your foundation on, Trey Young, with such a young talent, and being a playmaker, you want to put other players around him that can showcase what he's capable of, passing the basketball, getting his teammates involved, making them better. So I do agree that if you were to put more talented players around him, he could raise his draft stock by showing that if you put better players around him, he can make those players better and in turn win basketball games.
Okay. That being said, let's take our sights to March Madness as a whole. And I think this has been a story of Cinderella teams. And the one Cinderella team that has caught the nation's eye and the nation's love has been the University of Loyola Chicago, who, as of this day, March 24th, they sit in the Elite Eight. We don't know, as of right now, whether they're going to get eliminated in this round or move forward, but they have been committing upset after upset at the buzzer or at the last second shot. Cameron, who are their leading scorers?
Their leading scorers, I'll give you 4 because bottom 3 are pretty much, averaging around the same. Clayton Custer is averaging around 13.4 points. Dante Ingram with 11.3, and Marquise Towns and Andre Jackson around 11.
Yeah. So that being said, John, do you think that with how Loyola has been playing, is this skill that they've been playing with team basketball, or is this just luck?
No, definitely not luck. I think these guys, for being a smaller school, not known as well as other D1 programs, and coming into the draft and being able to handle really good NCAA teams, I think these guys are just playing out. I think these guys, they had, was it like one guy that was averaging 13, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the others averaging close to a 10?
Yeah, they're all contributing the same, really.
I don't know. And then I'm looking at their assist, and hold on, let me see. Yeah, 4.3. That's their average assist leader. Or that's their assist leader.
Yeah.
6.5 rebounds a game. That's their rebound leader. These guys weren't even close to having the best statistics in the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to see these guys hang with the big dogs in the NCAA, I mean, that's not something you really see. So I don't know if they have really good coaching and they're just able to, every single person, they put in their part and that's what's getting it done. But let me think, hold on. You see some NCAA teams that you have these guys that are averaging 26 points and the next closest guy is like 11.
Mm-hmm.
And that one guy is doing it all for him. I mean, every single guy is playing their part. And I think because they're able to all do it, that's what's getting the job done. And I think that Loyola Chicago does beat West Virginia in the Elite Eight.
Well, West Virginia, as of now, is out. They lost.
Oh, wait, who
they lost last night to Villanova. Cameron, who did they play
who
against?
does Loyola Chicago play?
I'm not sure. I think does it depend on someone else winning, or let's see.
Nah, we're
looking at it right now. In the meantime, Cameron, do you have Loyola Chicago getting past the Elite Eight in general?
Kansas State, my bad.
Oh, Kansas State.
Do I have Kansas State or Loyola Chicago getting past?
Yeah. Okay. When is that? That's today at around 5:00.
Well, I think comparing the NCAA to the NBA, you can't just have one person leading your whole team, because college basketball is very different. I think it's more of a team sport than NBA, because even in the NBA you have some people shine and bring their team victory, even on the bad teams. But to see a team like Loyola Chicago have such, I don't want to say more even distributing in scoring and rebounding and passing than say a team like Duke, who has Marvin Bagley, who's not necessarily putting the team on his back, because Duke is very talented, but he outshines the rest of the team. I think that with Loyola Chicago's their teamwork, that they are able. I don't think that it would be an upset if they beat the Kansas State Wildcats, because of the way they play. Very very team oriented. Yeah, team oriented style of play. What is your take on that, Josh?
Well, I think there's certainly a whole lot of cases in the NBA, especially in the finals, where team play will prevail over one single superstar leading. With, I think the best example ever would be the 2014 San Antonio Spurs when they defeated the Miami Heat. That was, Tim Duncan was their best player, but that was a team sport. Everybody was contributing and pitching in. Everybody knew their role. The bench players knew exactly what they had to do. Boris Diaw always was trying to look for the open man. Danny Green knocking down open threes, etc., etc. And I think that we can try and see the same thing, but at a lower version with Loyola Chicago. And I think that if they just continue with this mojo they've had and not try to get too caught up in the spotlight, then of course they can. Of course they can beat Kansas State. I don't see Kansas State really standing much of a chance, but I could be wrong. John, what are your thoughts? Do you got Kansas State beating Loyola today?
No, I have Loyola beating Kansas State.
Okay. And with that being said, we'll wrap up this episode of the 2-3 Zone podcast. Thank you to John for being featured today. And as always, we'd ask that you like, subscribe, and give us a shout out. Don't agree with the hot take? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for tuning in.